welcome to the Vanguard podcast. We've just been joined by Jason Kishineff, former congressional candidate in California, who's now running for city council. I'm Zach.
I'm Gavin.
Jason, could you just introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about your run for city council?
Yeah, my name is Jason Kishineff. I'm running for city council in a city called American Canyon, which is right in between Napa and Vallejo. It's in Napa County. I've run for Congress a couple times and kind of on a mission to get corporate money out of our political system so the power can be in the hands of the people. But a lot, it's tough to just get started running for Congress, and a lot of people said, hey, why don't you run for city council first? So I've done that, and this is my second run at that.
Gotcha. Awesome. What was that like running for Congress? I'm assuming you're running on a pretty bold left platform. You said you're interested in getting money out of politics. Obviously, that automatically puts you at a huge systemic disadvantage from your, opponents who are, of course, not taking corporate PAC money.
Right. Yeah. My opponent took $2 million every election. I've got a really interesting congressional district where part of the district is really left wing, but the center is really pro corporate Democrat, and they don't really want to hear what I would call truth. I don't want to offend them because I need your vote for city council, but.
Could you tell us a little bit about your platform and what kind of changes you would like to see in your city?
Yes, absolutely. So little background, we used to have a farmer's market. It used to be behind this really huge building off the highway, but you couldn't see it from the highway. And it wasn't very successful, and so they ended up moving it to the middle school parking lot, which was even farther from the highway, and it wasn't successful. So they ended up doing away with our farmer's market, which is unacceptable to me. So the first thing on my platform is to bring back our farmers market. We have a Walmart in our town that is the biggest. It's either the number one or number two shopping center in Napa County, and so the city owns that parking lot, and much of the parking lot goes unused. And it's my proposal to put the farmers market right in the end of that parking lot where nobody's using anyway, and it's right on the highway so that people can see it, and it will be more successful. And we really need a community gathering place in my city. I also want to introduce something called participatory budgeting, which is where, like, they have it in my neighboring city, Vallejo, and they take a certain percent of the city's budget, and they ask the residents, how would you like to spend the money? And people suggest what goes on the participatory budget ballot, and then people vote on which things to choose, and none of it is chosen by the government. Which is that's super cool. That's what democracy is all about, man. And we have in California, we have Prop 64, which passed in 2016. We voted to legalize cannabis, and everybody can grow 6 plants inside, but it left it up to local cities and counties to determine whether we could have recreational dispensaries, whether we can have backyard grows, and there is no city in Napa County that allows recreational dispensaries. And so that's a big thing to me too, that we need, we voted for Prop 64. Napa County was like 63 or 68%. In American Canyon, where I live, I think it was 58%, but we voted for it. And the city council circulated a petition or a survey asking whether people really wanted a dispensary, but they only circulated it to like establishment groups, the Kiwanis Club, the Rotary Club, real estate groups, PTOs, and only 698 respondents out of like over 11,000 voters. So like that's the excuse they use to not have a dispensary, and that's just not right. We voted for it.
Yeah, that's an interesting example of just kind of like, I don't know, a better way to describe it than just like kind of council fuckery, right? Like, the people voted for one way, the, big hats decided that they wanted it to be different. And so they kind of skirted the will of the people. I definitely think that, those ideas, should be realized. And, I wanted to ask you a little bit about, California's battle with Uber and Lyft and other ride-sharing companies. Recently, they've sort of waffled and flip-flopped on their position, and in this, have. If I'm not sure if you're familiar, but there's been the ongoing legislative battle in California between about the classification of gig workers, and I just wondered if you had any thoughts about that.
Pretty complicated issue. The way I understand it, I think that workers were justified in wanting to be considered employees and wanting to have benefits. I gather that some workers don't want the full-time aspect of it and are now trying to repeal it, and not really sure where I stand on that. I just kind of I want to side with the workers. Like, it really should be up to them. I think if you work full time for Uber or Lyft or any other gig app, if you're a full time worker, you should be entitled to those benefits.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't want to lock somebody into something. I guess there are workers that are happy to not be locked into that. So.
It's definitely an interesting and nuanced discussion for sure. I had another question for you about the farmers markets, which is, of course, something you've put at the top of your platform. And, it's an important issue to me, especially because when we talk about combating the, widespread industrialized agriculture, both of, plants and animals, going to your local farmers markets and buying your fruits and vegetables and food there is one of the few ways that people have left to really combat the likes of widespread industrial agriculture. There are only alternatives to places like Walmart, like you mentioned, aside from just growing their own food. So, I think it's cool that you're championing that issue because of the importance of that. And, have you seen a lot of agreeance from the community? Is that an issue that people agree with you as something that they want to engage with, especially now in the time of a pandemic when a lot of us are not really wanting to go to the grocery store?
Actually, yeah, an enormous amount of popularity. Even when I ran in 2018, this was also my, the first thing on my platform is, where the hell's our farmers market? And I even had city council members saying, yeah, we agree with you. And so it's like, well, let's do something then. Our city council voted to approve a humongous housing development, which your viewers won't be aware of, but it's called Watson Ranch, and it's going to really expand our city. And part of that is like a city center. And that city center is super popular with people from American Canyon. We're really looking forward to it, but it's not going to happen for like 8 years. And so I'm thinking that maybe it's in the city council's mind to wait 8 years to give us, fresh fruits and vegetables, which is like, think of the people, not the business aspect.
Yeah, while we're on the topic of COVID-19 a little bit, I just wondered if you could share how that's been impacting your community. Obviously, Congress has, ceased session right now, and there's no extension to the CARE Act, no $600 for workers, no, eviction moratorium. I wondered if you could just talk about how that lack of action is impacting your community.
Well, the CARES Act was all crumbs anyway. It was all a smokescreen for a corporate bailout, corporate looting of our economy.
Highest upward transfer of wealth in history.
Totally. It's we don't live in an area that's super hard hit, but we do have our cases going up. People that live in like New York or Los Angeles would probably laugh at me for saying the numbers that we're looking at, but people are scared. Like, that's the point, is that people are scared. And so, like, even going out and just trying to get 20 signatures, outside Walmart just to get on the ballot was tough, because here I am, I've got a mask on like that. You can't understand me. I can't understand what people are saying back. Nobody wants to talk to you because of the COVID thing. You want to keep 6 feet back.
Yeah, it definitely
Go
seems
ahead.
like one of the big consequences of the pandemic and of the extended shutdowns is exactly what you're saying. You know, a lack. It's harder to, unite and do activism and organize. It's harder to get on the ballot because you do have to talk to people, and people have to touch your clipboard and pen and all that. Have you been able to campaign online a lot, or how have you been able to reach voters?
Yeah, I mean, my filing deadline was like a week ago, so I mean, I just started.
Gotcha.
I've promoted some ads on Facebook, and I'm struggling with Instagram because I'm trying to promote an ad about cannabis dispensaries, and Instagram keeps kicking it back, saying I'm promoting alcohol, which I don't know. Maybe they don't have a separate category for cannabis, but I'm like, I'm not promoting alcohol. I'm not targeting minors. There's nothing wrong with this ad. So, I mean, but so far I'm trying to kick off on the social media. I think at some point I will print up some kind of literature to drop on people's doors. I think knocking on people's doors would freak people out. But maybe I'll print up like some cards or something.
Throughout your, attempts at, gaining public office, you've run as both a Green Party and as a Democrat, if I'm not mistaken. And I just wondered what was the reason for making that change, and if you're open to. You've mentioned Jimmy Dore in passing. I wondered if you were interested in the People's Party that he's kind of been pushing. There's a convention at the end of the month for a new People's Party. Is that something that you would be interested in running as a member of, or?
Absolutely. And I've already been promoting the People's Party convention that's coming up as well. Absolutely. It's like there's like this weird misunderstanding in the Democratic Party about the word progressive. Like, some people think it means liberal or it means Democrat, but it doesn't. Some Democrats are progressive, and I am well within progressive. I consider myself socialist. So I think on a national level with national politics, I think the system is really obviously rigged for Democrat and Republican. And so it's really, I really see the drive to try to reform the Democratic Party. And I've been trying to do that. But I'm also willing to walk away when they give me somebody like Joe Biden, who has this horrible, horrible record that makes Trump look like an amateur. No, I'm not going to vote for somebody who is going to deprive people of Medicare for all. I'm not going to vote for somebody who wants to bomb children to take their oil. So that's when I move, to a Green Party, or I've looked at the Peace and Freedom Party. There's a movement to draft Jesse Ventura to run, either, I think, as a write-in. I think it's too late to file for independent.
It's write-in at this point, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how successful that could be, but if it's a big drive, it could, he could make some noise.
Yeah, I was really pissed off, to be honest, that the Greens didn't welcome in onto their ticket with open arms, because, I mean, as everyone knew would happen, Howie Hawkins is not, proving to be a viable 5% achieving candidate, as much as I would love that to be the case. I think he's a great candidate. We've talked to him on this podcast. I love Angela Walker as well, of course, but I mean, Jesse Ventura would have been so huge for the party. I think it's kind of a joke, honestly, that they, seemingly aren't interested enough in actually taking power to accept him with open arms into their party and see why that's a good thing to actually win.
Yeah, I had a chat with Howie on Twitter, and I was trying to talk to him, and this is the people's choice, and you're in a party that is supposed to prioritize the greater good over, your own ego. But he seemed very much like he was about his own ego, which really turned me off to voting for Hawkins. I don't see him doing better than Jill Stein. I thought Jill Stein was a great candidate.
Me too.
So, yeah. I mean, she got like 1% or 1.5%. Howie Hawkins is not going to do better.
No. No, and her slogan was, vote green like your life depends on it, because in fact it does. And I mean, I agree with that, but if that's going to be your philosophy, then how can you turn down someone who's actually going to make your party a viable party? Like,
Yeah, and there's something about, he was saying he's got to respect the people who have already voted in the Green primary, but he's not respecting the people who have been working on drafting Jesse Ventura.
and also
right?
he offered the nomination to Bernie Sanders himself. Before Jesse Ventura wanted to get into the ring, he said, I'll hand off the nomination to Bernie Sanders. So that's just as undemocratic.
And to clarify, before Howie Hawkins, I believe, had even secured the nomination for himself.
Yeah.
But then he denied saying that. He said, I never offered it to Bernie Sanders. And,
I saw the video.
yeah.
Jason, I had one more question for you. This is something that Gavin and I have really been consistently hammering recently. The people are so, beaten and have nothing left. There's nothing left to take from the working class. People are, facing an eviction crisis like we've never seen. We've been, really pushing the idea of a general strike, like something that would occur in France or Spain, where workers from all backgrounds just kind of, hang up their hats, the real doers and makers, and shut the economy down from the bottom up. I just wondered if you think that there's a need for that, and to follow up, if you think that that's something that's realistic.
Complicated question. As for whether there's a need, fuck yeah, there's a need. As for whether it's realistic, I don't know, because everybody's watching, progressive news versus mainstream Democrat news versus Fox News or Breitbart or whatever, and nobody can agree on what the truth is. Nobody communicates with each other. We all just call each other names. We get back on our iPhones and we look at pictures of Kim Kardashian naked in a tree and talk about Kanye's mental health issues. I mean, I would love to see it happen. I think it absolutely should happen. I mean, when you look at our electoral system, the fact that we get offered candidates that don't represent the vast majority, and we have to choose between Big Brother and Mussolini and say which one we support, and I don't support either of them. But if I tell the system I support this one, they're going to believe me.
Yeah, wise. Well said, Jason. Is there any message that you would like to leave to the audience before we go?
Sure. I think it was Taylor Swift yesterday said that, everybody should hurry in and get in their mail-in ballots. I want to contradict that. Take your time, do your research, look at the people's voting records that you're going to vote for, and please vote.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck in
thanks
your race.
for taking the time. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, thank you very much.